don't know how it's consistent.
XLX.
XLSX.
Well, right now I can't get signed in.
Some of your old ones. And the Parliament will be XLS.
That's gonna make me.
And look at your old Word documents.
Yeah, well, exactly. Okay.
How long do we have?
I bet I've done it too many. If you try to sign in 3 times, it'll boot you. Yeah, it's,
That happens.
I can't.
I have my checkbook out. I think I own like $175.
Want me to tell Tim to?
And that's just for starting thinking.
Those are.
Yeah, we'll do another bill later.
Okay.
You can't be too many lately.
You guys ready?
This has happened before. No reason.
I think that should have.
I can see us up there in the big-
All right. We will go ahead and call to order. This is city council business meeting for July 7th, 2022. It is 6:01 PM. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Lester. Baker.
Here.
Riva. Cool.
Here.
Livingston. Mayor Tom Phillips.
I am here as well. We do have a quorum, so we'll move on. Item 2 is pledge of allegiance. Would you please rise and say the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gonna keep working on that, or should we just move on as far as procedures?
Let's see if it comes back up right now.
We'll just move on. Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. We're going to remove item 5L from the consent agenda. Would anybody like to move any of the other consent agenda items to the regular agenda? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
Motion by Rita, seconded by Cool. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion carries. Item number 4 is welcome guests and public comment. We'll go ahead and open up the dais and for non-agenda items, give you an opportunity to speak to council. We'll give you a 3-minute time limit. Realize we can't take action on those tonight because they are not on the agenda. Also, if you'd like to comment on any item in the consent agenda, now would be the time. And I don't see anybody online. Nobody in here, so we will move on. Item 5 is consent agenda. We have the June 9th, 2022 minutes of the special city council meeting. We have June 16th, 2022 minutes of the regular city council meeting. We have expenditures, tax abatements, a resolution of approving supplemental agreement for additional engineering services for Iowa 28 traffic signal system improvement project. We have a resolution to approve property liability and workers' compensation insurance renewal for fiscal year 2023. We have a resolution approving right-of-way permit fee increase. We have a resolution approving engineering services for Wright Road water main replacement project. We have a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Bolton and Mink Incorporated for construction services for the Great Western Trail Connection Phase 3 project. We have a resolution adopting the street naming and addressing policy. A resolution appointing Jason Brown to the Norwalk Planning and Zoning Commission. We have a resolution approving fire services contract agreement pursuant to Iowa Code Section 28E between Lee Township and the city of Norwalk, Iowa. We have a resolution approving the Park and Rec Department to purchase replacement playground equipment at Billy O. Phillips Park. And we have some correspondence. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Motion by Reba, seconded by Baker. Lindsay, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Riva. Yes. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, motion carries. Item 6 is old and new business for consideration, discussion, and possible action. Item A is a public hearing regarding a zoning amendment to change 10 acres south of Bluebell Drive and east of Timberview Drive from AR Agricultural Reserve to R170 Single Family Reserve. So we'll open up the public hearing at 6:04 PM. This is a change in rezoning for just a small parcel just to the south of Blooming Heights Plat 2. Luke? would you take it from here?
Yep, sure. The area in question, like you said, is directly south of Blooming Heights South Plateau. It's the northwest corner of the Swackhammer property in the area. It's approximately 10 acres. The area is currently being looked at to be purchased in kind of two phases by Diligent in 2 5-acre chunks. What's kind of bringing us to a rezoning right now is the city can't approve even the 5-acre lot split with it as ag ground. Our minimum lot size for ag is 30 acres. So the request is really to zone it to R1 so that we can get the transfer to occur, and then there'll be future preliminary plating needed going forward once we have some kind of design there. We did propose a little bit different way to approve this ordinance than we have in the past because there were some conditions that we wanted to put on the rezoning. So there's a resolution attached there. And really what we're wanting to talk about, since this is such a small rezoning area that's being done for a land transfer, we wanted to make sure that when it came back that someone looked more holistically at the entire property so they can understand how other areas around there might develop, how a road might come out to G14, how we've got one park up there, Pine Needle Park in Blooming Heights and Timber View, and the Blooming Heights South Park. I forget what we named that one formally. But there's an opportunity to connect those via trails or something. So that process, that neighborhood sketch plan will get us a better idea of what the area might look like, even if Diligent just ends up developing that 10 acres that they're looking at buying right now.
Lindsay, have you received any oral or written comments on this?
I have not.
Any other public comment on this side? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public hearing at 6:07 p.m. Item 6B is first and possibly more readings of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by rezoning 10 acres south of Bluebell Drive and east of Timberview Drive from AR Agricultural Reserve to R170 Single Family Residential to be passed utilizing a resolution to outline certain requirements regarding a neighborhood plan. So we just discussed this area in public hearing. This way of passing the ordinance is a bit different than what we usually do, like Luke said, but this is kind of an unusual situation. Part of this resolution will be to require a neighborhood plan with the preliminary plat that includes easements through this property and the property to the east so that we can have the trail that connects the two parks that are in the area. Did I get that right, Luke?
Yep.
Got anything to add?
No, sorry.
All right. So just so we know what's going on, Jim, can you go over the mechanics of passing an ordinance via resolution?
Well, basically, it's not any different than what we've seen before, except the council has 3 ways of passing an action. One is by ordinance, one is by resolution, one is by simple motion. Normally, what you see with our ordinance is we just use a simple motion, but there's no rules that establish whether you have to do it by resolution or by motion. And by doing a resolution, we can get in other details of what council desires, specifically pointing out that we're expecting when the first plat for this comes through. Because right now we're just doing the rezoning and not doing the platting. When the first plat comes through, that it addresses, more of the whole area, because this is such a limited area right here that by, if you just allow for the breakout of just little individual parcels, it's hard to kind of control the whole parcel. But the parcel's landlocked, and it really needs to make sure that it has access on roads and easements kind of put in place initially, as opposed to just, piecemealing it as it goes along. So by doing the resolution, we can put those details regarding our expected requirements for the plating, kind of document that for everybody. So this is what we require, as opposed to just having a motion passing the ordinance. So
Does the resolution cover all 3 readings, or do we still have to have 3 readings?
we would still want 3 readings.
But the resolution covers the first reading.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Any discussion or comments from council?
So how is other land in that area, how is it currently zoned? Is it all currently zoned agricultural reserve, or is this on the boundary of it? Or?
Correct. The rest of the Swackhammer property is ag reserve.
Okay, so in order to develop any further than this,
They would, yes, the other areas outside of this 10 acres would have a rezoning request to come forward as well.
Okay, so we're setting this up as a single family 70-foot lot. Right? And that's what we're telling them.
Yep.
And they're evidently good with it.
Yes, they requested it.
Well,
Yeah.
must be good with it then.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, other questions, comments from council? Or any public comment? Go ahead, Tim.
Hi, Tim Fortson with Diligent Development. I'd just like to make a request that the council consider waiving the second and third reading. This is in line with the land use plan, as Luke mentioned. This is really more of a request due to being able to transfer the property versus develop it. To have a chance to go back in front of P and Z and council again, when we go through the prelim plat, I'm very comfortable with adding the terms of the resolution to show that we're trying to work with the city and that this is not a way to push through development. The second 5 acres actually isn't going to be purchased until next year anyway, so there's plenty of time to work through development. However, our seller, for some personal reasons, needs to close by a certain deadline, which would not allow for a second and third reading. So for those reasons, I do request that you consider waiving the second and third readings. Thanks.
Thanks.
Well, these developers are always in a hurry. Aren't they?
Okay, so then can I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the packet?
Motion.
Okay, so motion by Cool, seconded by Reva. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba, Cool,
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Anybody want to make a motion to waive the second and third readings?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Cool, seconded by Baker to waive second, and third readings. Any further discussion?
Do we need
That will
to-
require 4 positive votes here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this a problem with, since we don't have that on the agenda, that it's a possible?
It is.
Oh, on this one it is.
It was
Okay.
on item B where it says first.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Yeah. Item 6C, it's resolution approving an agreement for engineering services for North Avenue traffic study, Cherry Street to East 17th Street. So when the North Avenue corridor study was done back in 2019, this is an area that was flagged as needing some additional attention. As the school is continuing to grow and with the addition of the impact facility, we're going to have to address some traffic needs in that area pretty soon. And this kicks that off. Wayne, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, that's a great summary. Thank you, Mayor. The initial study in the fall of 19 suggested that we're likely to go to a 3-lane in this area. In order to do so, we likely attack the intersections first. And then like you mentioned with the school traffic in there, it's kind of a unique situation. We'd have some traffic counts completed and then the study would look at with the grading, the adjacent right of way, can we get a roundabout in there? Should it be a roundabout? Should it just be traffic signals? What would work? What are our options at the intersections? From there, then we get those projects programmed in the CIP for future discussion and consideration.
I think if you took the old public works building down, it could be a roundabout.
It's steep on that west side, but I think it would probably work. I'm not sure, but they'd have to look into it.
Yeah.
And that would be an efficient way. There's some traffic backups there with school starting and school letting out. But you hate to signalize it because most of the time you can get up there and go right through it. There's not a lot of traffic. Sometimes there is. So it's unique. And it's no different than schools at any other community. There's problems in the morning and the afternoon.
That'll take some major relocating to put a roundabout.
Yes, it would. Any other discussion or comments from council? Or any public comment?
Just wondering when they looked at the intersection. E17, is that what is on the end there?
Mhm.
Um, Any improvements right there? Did it take into consideration? Did it take into consideration the fact that that might someday become a public street? Because when you talk about at one point maybe that being a public street. I mean,
Once it goes, I think once it all the way, once it goes all the way to Wright Road, it can become a public street at that point in time, if we would want to accept it.
right, if we wanted to accept it, but I was just wondering,
But there would have to be some improvements in the intersection. I think that was the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
the study
I just
taking
wanna
into
make sure
account that
that-
as well?
Yeah, we'll have a kickoff meeting and the school will likely be a partner in our project as we move along, and we'll discuss that with them.
just, I mean, in the event it happens, it would be nice to do the intersection improvements
Yep.
now, not have to redo them.
Completely agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
Motion.
Okay, so motion by Lester, seconded by Reva. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 6D is a resolution awarding general obligation corporate purpose bond series 2022A. Gene, since the sale happened today, we're hoping for good news. I'll turn it over to you.
It did happen, and I do have good news. We had 7 bidders. The low bid was Gianni Montgomery Scott, which I believe they've bought some in the past, but they were the low bid at 3.44%. Just happened to be a really good week for us. They said it just kind of has been steadily going down. They estimated at 491 when we started this process. They had padded at 100 basis points. So feeling pretty good about that. The high bid was DA Davidson at 366, and then we had 5 in between there. Also, we got a premium amount. So bidders will offer to pay more now to get a higher coupon yield. The yields were like 5% through 2033 call date, and then 4% thereafter. They offered an additional 1.5 million. Now, obviously, that's not free money, but the good news is, well, obviously, we'll pay interest on it. That's part of it. But the good news is it doesn't go against your debt capacity. And you can use that money, and I checked on this twice, for any project, even those with a reverse referendum attached to it. So that TIP project, Norwalk Central, some of our expenses are looking a little high due to inflation and material costs. So, and we know we're going to borrow in the next 2 years. So I'm recommending that we just keep that money. Another option is to resize the bonds to a smaller amount. But again, with the costs we have, and we know we're going to borrow in the next 2 years, it looks like we should probably keep that money. So though I mentioned the 2 good things. I think that's it. The new amount of proceeds, it was 18,935,000 was the original. We have 20,315,000 to work with our projects now.
We must have a good credit.
That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
What did the credit rating come in as?
Oh, stable, AA.
Okay.
That was good as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? Cool.
Very good.
Yeah, very good. Can I get a motion to approve resolution?
Absolutely.
Second.
Motion.
Motion by Lester, seconded by Reva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, motion carries. Item 6E is resolution for advanced hiring of 1 police officer. So we have an officer that has a great employment opportunity, but unfortunately that means we're going to lose that officer. We also have 1 or more police officers that are eligible to retire from the force. So Chief Staples is asking that we hire a replacement officer now So the replacement could get through the academy, through field training to be better prepared for appropriate staffing. Chief, anything to add?
Just the reason for the request now is based on the start time of the academy. In that there's an academy that starts August 29th, and then the next one would be in January. And so by starting now, although it causes us to pay for somebody that we don't have budgeted, it eliminates it quickens the time frame from when the officer might leave to when the next academy starts, which allows us to get the person trained and on the road sooner. That's always an issue with police work, but we're just now coming out of the same thing. We had an officer resign, we had nobody ready to replace. That officer left at the end of October 2021, and we still don't have that officer fully trained, the replacement officer fully trained on the road. So to not take the opportunity to put somebody in the academy now just makes us a person short for an extended period of time.
All right, any questions, discussion?
You've got those grants sitting there too. We could offset some of this with the.
We do. However, if we advance hire the person, knowing that that hire is to replace an officer that would leave, then the grant isn't applicable because the grant requires to permanently increase the number of staff permanently for a minimum of 4 years. So if we claim that the advanced hire officer is paid by the grant, we would have to also tell the grant that the position is permanent. And that's not the intent at this time. The intent is that we're pre-hiring in anticipation of a resignation. And then we wouldn't fill the resignation because we'd already had it full.
Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm asking you to show your hand. I don't know. But next year, was it your intention to add another officer off the grant?
It would be my intention to ask, yes.
It'd be something if we could kill two birds with one stone.
But I think if we did that, if we're gonna use the grant money based on what you're saying, we would have to hire somebody to replace the other officer when they
Correct.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's
Correct.
So we
correct.
would be hiring this person as a grant officer,
Well, that,
and then the next
Yeah.
person, we would, when the person leaves, we would hire that replacement.
the other position has to remain authorized.
Correct. And in what I'm proposing is that,
That's right. No, I'm serious.
what I'm proposing is that the new position is not permanently authorized. It's authorized temporarily, knowing that we're gonna have need a replacement.
And if the resignation doesn't happen,
Then we can tell the cops grant that we have a permanent hire and have the cops grant pay 45% of the cost. Yes.
So maintain.
that's where I was making sure we were going. So-
And then I
Maintains the
probably wouldn't ask for another officer.
You know, Mayor, I always wished I could do this whenever I'd have an opening come up, because he's right. It's that long a lag time before you get people out on the ground, see? But I never had a full enough, no offense, but looking council to be willing to do that, you know? Some of those people are friends of mine now, but, you know, they just didn't want to do that, right, you know? But I would speak up and offer support for what he wants to do. I think it's a very practical thing, and I think we need to do it.
Okay. Any other comments? Public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Cool, seconded by Reva. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reva.
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 6F is a resolution approving the promissory note and mortgage and contract for the Norwalk Rehabilitation Assistance Program project for 604 Snyder Avenue. So this is one of the first applications for our LMI program for rehabilitating residential property. I believe this application will pay for replacement sidewalk and driveway. Luke, anything to add?
Not really. Just this is our first project that we're doing for the program. When we announced it earlier in the year, we had about 7 applications initially come in. Several of those didn't meet certain qualifications. So, but this was the first one that met them. So we just kind of took them in order. So that's that, I guess. The owner is, like I said, wanting to replace sidewalk and concrete on the driveway. So that's nice. The sidewalk is kind of broken up in one spot, and it's an older area of town that has the narrower sidewalk. So we'll be able to bring that up to code from a sidewalk width standpoint. They also had a section of their driveway that was gravel. So this will get that paved as well and bring that up to code as well. So that's good. Other than that, everything else is pretty standard for what Jim and I put together as far as templates for promissory note and mortgage and contract.
Questions, comments from council?
Can you refresh my memory? Do we pay Hastings Concrete here directly, or how do we monitor that?
We will pay them at the end of the project after we've gone out and looked and make sure everything was done per the program application.
So we issue it directly to Hastings?
Yes.
Right? Okay, that's what I remember. I want to make sure.
Let's say motion. Okay,
Second.
all right. Motion by Lester, seconded by Baker. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Riva,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 6G is resolution approving the promissory note and mortgage and contracts for the Norwalk Rehabilitation Assistant Program project for 2219 Norwood Drive. So this is another application for the LMI rehabilitation funds. This is for new siding and windows. Luke.
The only thing that's a little bit different on this one is they're using 2 different contractors for the siding work and for the window work. So we have 2 contracts for each one. The window contractor will utilize 6,500 of the grant. The remainder will go to the siding contractor. The siding cost went above and beyond what our grant amount was, so the applicant will be responsible for the remainder of that.
Any discussion, comments from council?
That's a question. I meant to look this up. After both of these projects, how much money do we have left in this?
We will have 20,000. So this uses 30. Just an update on that the program real quick. One more that I'm getting close to finalizing the eligibility side of it, which then I believe would use another 15, and then we would have a small 5 amount left. We have 2 people waiting in line behind that so far look like they're eligible based on my first look. So we've got folks that are using it. If we want to re-up it for another year at some point, we'll certainly have some projects that might need to get done.
Cool. Comments, discussion from council? Want to make a motion to approve it? Motion. Second.
Second.
Motion by Lester, seconded by Baker. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Riva.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 6H is second reading of an ordinance creating a new chapter 89 cross connections and backflow prevention to the Norwalk Municipal Code. So we passed first reading of this ordinance at our last meeting. We need to have these backflow prevention devices installed and in working order to avoid having water flow back into our drinking water distribution system. Wayne, is that right?
Correct.
All right. Any discussion or questions, comments from council? I get a motion to approve second reading.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Cool, seconded by Riva. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Riva,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 6I is second and possibly final reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by rezoning land south of West Beardsley Street from AR Agricultural Reserve to the Hackney Hills Planned Unit Development. So we had first reading of this ordinance at our last meeting. Developers worked with the neighbors of Hackney Hills to get something designed that's going to work for everybody. Luke, anything to add?
No, this is just the second reading of the ordinance. We've addressed everything that we're concerned with the last meeting.
Okay, any discussion or questions, comments from council? I get a motion.
Thank you for working with the neighbors.
Motion by Reed, seconded by Lester for the second reading. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Since the residents are okay with the plans, and they were in here last meeting, at our last meeting, developers asked that we waive the final reading of the ordinance. However, we do have a request from Councilmember Livingston to delay that tonight, but I'll leave it up to council on what they'd like to do as far as waiving the final reading.
Why? Does she give a why?
Would we get 4 votes?
She's against.
So my 2 cents would be is that they delayed the readings and bring it back to us by a couple of weeks by doing meetings with the neighbors to get this squared away. And I
Yeah.
think this is,
I agree.
I feel sufficient saying that we've had multiple readings on this, maybe 3. This is maybe the 4th time that we've had a reading technically on this, so. I will make the motion to waive the 3rd reading.
Anybody want to second that?
Second?
All right, motion by Lester, seconded by Baker. Lindsay, could you call roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yeah.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
There we go.
Thanks. And I'll second what David said. Thanks for working with the residents there as far as getting something good going.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to working with the city.
All right,
Good.
sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Item 6J is final reading of an ordinance amending chapter 177 rates and fees, providing for amended water, sewer, and solid waste charges. So all the fees we charge are contained in an ordinance. For this change, we're going to increase water and sewer utility, garbage, and recycling rates. Gene, anything to add?
I have nothing new.
All right, any discussion or question from council? Or a motion to approve the final reading?
Second.
All right, motion by Reba, seconded by Baker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 6K is a final reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Norwalk regarding swimming pool enclosures. So this is changing ordinance to require pools to have a fence installed around it. We've had council asked to exclude decorative ponds. Staff's amended the definition of a pool as a body of water intended for swimming or bathing. So Luke, you got anything to add?
No, sir.
All right, any questions, discussion, council? Okay, got a motion.
Second.
Motion by Baker, seconded by Reba. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 6L. Final reading of an ordinance amending the legacy PUD within the city of Norwalk, Iowa by allowing patios and decks to encroach into residential side yard setbacks in PUD parcel 1. So we heard about this last meeting. And the agenda description pretty much sums this one up. Anything to add, Luke?
Nope.
All right, any discussion, questions, council?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Cool, seconded by Reba. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 6M, discussion regarding the Central Iowa Waterworks, water capacity projections and methods of achieving water needs. I'm going to turn this over to Luke.
All right. In the staff report, give a little bit of history of what was going on with Des Moines Waterworks, Central Iowa Waterworks. So there's multiple things going on here. On one hand, we're still talking about this regional water authority. At the same time, there is firm recognition of the need to expand capacity within the entire metro area. Initial bids came back scary high. Some of the numbers that they're looking at are quite a bit more than what they thought. They decided to go back to all of the different entities that are looking at Central Iowa Waterworks and make sure that all the different entities are okay with the approach, knowing what the cost is compared to the capacity. Because they're wanting to move rapidly, they needed quick feedback. Put on the agenda fairly quickly. It's not, I didn't have much other time to go out and do further meetings with anyone. So we're just throwing it in front of you and explaining that the amount of capacity that they had identified for Norwalk out of that 10 million, and I'm going to round the numbers. So Wayne, if I'm grossly off, please jump in and correct me. But generally speaking, they were looking at about 500,000 gallons per day capacity for Norwalk. We ran some numbers ourselves and looked at what our capacity needs would be. I'll show you that table. I apologize for the audience. I just got some weirdness happening with that, those screens. The key thing that I want you to look at is that they're talking about the 2027 timeframe. So it'd be this row. And according to our projections, with the capacity that they're offering up for Norwalk, we're roughly in that 300,000 capacity short. Now, keep in mind that the numbers that we're using here was Wayne simply looking at what some of our peak usage has been over the past couple of years, which happened to be a couple of drought years. So I think arguably we can say this is an aggressive estimate. With that said, being off 300,000 in that 2027, seeing then the new capacity come online, but by 2030, we're identifying that we are quickly behind again. We have shared this information with one of our large neighbors, actually West Des Moines Waterworks. We sat down and had some discussions with them about it. They understood. They explained from their perspective that we're not alone. I think them, as well as there's some other metro communities that share in that same assumption. I talked to Ted Corrigan and I explained these numbers to him. He also reinforced that they are hearing similar items. They know that this 10 million gallon additional capacity project we're talking about today is not just the end of the discussion and then we proceed for another 10 years before doing anything. So they are identifying, they know that there's some other capacity needs that are going to have to come into play. With all that being said, financially speaking, Gene and I got together with Matt from PFM and Suzanne. Matt gave us quite a bit of comfort from a numbers perspective that the gradual increases that we've been forewarning council about, that 6 to 8% increase, he felt pretty comfortable, as did Gene, that those gradual increases will keep us where we need to be in terms of capacity. That's also taking into account that we're planning a water tower and the land purchase associated with that in some of our other CIP projects for our water system. Growth is good for Norwalk and keeping up with capacity. It's part of what helps generate those additional revenues that help us do these projects. That's a general, overall, a general thing, just reinforcing the positives that we see from growth.
I think it's in this memo, but you did account for potentially having heavy users in there, like if we did a certified site or even an industrial area, that we would be able to cover that.
Well, that's the next thing that I was going to touch on, because I'm more talking about that first column, looking at that $300,000 here. So when we discussed a heavy user throwing in that 750,000 number, you can quickly see that that throws off our numbers quite a bit. So the bottom line is if we have a heavy water user come to us, likely we say to them, we're not interested. I had this discussion with Ted Corrigan as well, West Des Moines, and they said that they are hearing the same things from many other metro communities. At our last Warren County Economic Development meeting, Stacy Levon with Partnership was there talking about, a lot of the growth in the metro. There's still a lot of positive things happening. And I said, if there's one recommendation for the partnership, it's to try to figure out a way to get more water to the metro area because of these issues. And it's not just Norwalk. So it's all the other communities would have to say the same thing. So this goes into an economic development realm is what I'm saying. And again, reinforcing it's not just us, it's the same issue across the metro. So that's not really a comforting way of telling you we can accommodate a heavy water user. This is saying that that would be a tremendous challenge unless we were able to go to Central Iowa Waterworks or Des Moines Waterworks and figure out a way to bridge that gap in water needs.
Let me ask that question in a different way. And you could run 1,000 different scenarios, and I understand that before I ask this question. So staff is confident that the annual increase of 6 to 8% will be able to cover these costs, but what if the population grew slower, but the heavy user came pretty fast? The heavy user doesn't pay the same rate, does it?
No, they pay a lower rate. But it's funny, that question, so I had a meeting with Katie Lord. She's the new Deb Calvert from Mid-American. Katie and I were having a discussion about their capacity. Mostly she was talking about natural gas, saying that some of these companies come in and they need these major they have these major natural gas needs. Many times are the same ones, the high water users. And we were discussing that at some point, what we start to say to these folks, as opposed to providing them incentives, we have to say to those companies, well, on top of you investing in a building and land or a new facility, you are now going to have to invest in some infrastructure. They would have to put in dollars to build that capacity to supply that amount of water. I'm not saying that would be our answer. If it was important enough to you, maybe the city comes through and says, all right, we're willing to spend an additional how many million to add another 500 or 1 million gallons of capacity.
Just wanted to know that we thought that.
I think probably the important thing to keep in mind here is this is the great limiter. Right?
This
And
is
so
sanitary sewer.
you can only get so many pieces out of the pot. Right? So you cut them big, you cut them little, but there's only so much there. Right? So going forward, you need to keep an eye on this because this is gonna control more than anything our rate of growth. Whether that's in the commercial side, residential side, or some balanced combination of the two. You know, is there any discussion about enlarging that project beyond the 10 million?
Yes. Wayne, were you at the presentation where they talked about, gee,
There's two options, a 10 million gallon and a 25 million gallon.
Right.
And I thought they were leaning toward a 10.
right, and I believe the rationale was just simply the cost of construction today,
Right.
that the 25 million was just such a tremendous number. It was really hard to take that big bite.
So you think maybe they're thinking 10 now and then maybe another 10 or whatever, depending on what construction costs do.
I don't remember if it was the 10 million was the direction they're heading and they're already looking at a secondary. It was heavy engineer speak. I do believe they're looking at what that next phase is already, but the focus has just been that 10 million gallon. That's really the recommendation coming from the engineers. at
Yeah,
this point.
it'd be interesting to know what their projected timelines are, and what their.
And I'll go back to something that you said earlier. As Central Iowa Waterworks proceeds, we will have a board appointment there. And just like WRA, those are probably two of our most crucial boards that whoever our representative are on those, we are going to have to be very attentive to what's happening with that board and expansion plans. Because you are absolutely right. That makes such a big difference on the type of development we can do in the community.
It's getting way down in the weeds. But when we first looked at this Central Iowa Waterworks agreement, wasn't there something that, even though we would, maybe agree on a distribution now, they would look at it again in the next couple of years to make sure that, we didn't exceed West Des Moines growth, or that West Des Moines didn't do more than Ankeny, that you could tweak those numbers for distribution?
Yes.
So they look at the metro overall, not just individual community.
Yeah, and I think, Mayor, maybe you were just alluding to this, but if you look in here, it's the 2017 long-range plan. So they're going back to some numbers that are now 5, getting close to 6 years old. And in the metro, that's a long time.
I'm just saying that the closer we get to entering into an agreement, if they decide that Norwalk's capacity is, 4 million, that 2 or 3 years after that, we have the ability to look back and say, actually, our growth projections were wrong. We grew faster, or we grew slower.
There's,
So that's just for, I know not now.
yes, and the term true up has come up as part of this 2080 that, so it's not like we're all just betting and gambling and then whatever happens, happens. The idea is then you come back in actual usage, there are some true up that would happen.
That's what I said.
Yes.
All right.
And constant review of growth. And we have to be, Paris, he's gonna have to spend a lot of time helping to predict what that growth is gonna be. A big part of it. So at this point, essentially what we're looking for is either council to concur with staff's recommendation to proceed as presented, but be sure to voice to them that already we know we're going to need additional capacity. Or if you think we should pass along some other advice or word to Central Waterworks and Des Moines Waterworks, we'd be happy to.
Would be comfortable with you proceeding as you outlined. Make like a motion for that.
Yeah, that's good.
I think we're looking for a motion or just discussion.
That's ours.
A motion, if you could, if it was a motion to concur, it'd just be to, for staff to proceed according to alternative 1.
And I would make then the motion that staff would proceed according to recommendation number 1.
I don't think we got any choice. I would second that.
All right. So, what's okay?
Well, yeah, we could, yeah, see what happens.
Got a motion by Reva, seconded by Cool. Any further discussion on it? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All opposed say. That motion carries. Okay, item N is update and direction regarding nuisance enforcement of 407 Center Street, sorry. 407 Center Street. I better make that clear. We've heard about this property in closed session and we've unfortunately come to this next step. Luke, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure, just to give you a rundown, I guess, of where we're at since our last discussion on the property. We did issue a notice of right to entry in April. We issued that twice. When we showed up on the date to enter, we were denied entry to the buildings. We've not been able to go inside and really do an assessment of the safety of the structure. But based on what we know from past and just the overall condition of the property itself, our building official felt comfortable deeming it an unsafe building. So we went ahead and did that process in May. Issued a notice and order on the 26th with basically directed the property owner to vacate the building in 15 days. At which point in time we were going to post as unsafe to occupy. We also ordered that the building be repaired and nuisance abated within 90 days, or that the building be demolished within 90 days, and that any of the permitted work be pulled within 30 days. So on June 13th is when we then posted it as unsafe to occupy. On the 14th, the following day, those notices had been removed and we posted them on all entries around the building. We reposted them on the 27th, a second time, with the posting subsequently being removed from the property as well. The 30 days that we gave them to get the permits has come and gone with no permits submitted to the city. So at this point, we still have that 90-day timeline that we've told them to abate the nuisances and repair the building. But given that they've not complied with the 30-day timeline on permits, we don't feel that that's going to happen. So Jim suggested we bring this back to you all to see what thoughts you had with moving forward with things. So Jim, you want to add anything?
Is that I recommend, what I'm looking for is just a motion proceed with the litigation. I recommend that's what we do. If we do get cooperation out of the property owner, Certainly doesn't mean that the litigation can't be slowed down in the future, just kind of gets the court involved also. I mean, if they do come in, which we hope, with a reasonable plan, say, no, we sorry, didn't respond, but this is what we're gonna do, and this is how we're gonna do it. And if we feel that that reasonably could bring it back within code, we could certainly delay hearing dates and stuff like that in front of the court. But at this point in time, I think it's, you know, really to get anything done whatsoever, we've got to continue down this path. Because we haven't been successful with the notices and the, you know, encouragement up till now.
Question.
So my one question is if they're on the property and it's been deemed unsafe and not to be occupied, are they technically trespassing?
They're not trespassing, they're just occupying the property without a, you know, the right to occupy it. And really, I think at this point in time, it's also, since they can't occupy it, the law deems it a unoccupied building, even if they're in there, which also could have ramifications regarding, you know, certain amount of time in terms of abandoned structure, things like that. So it's not trespass, but it is.
Not yet.
But
Potentially gets there, right?
it could if, because as you go down this road, once it's an abandoned property, the city could take possession of it and mitigate it ourselves, or alternatively, you know, you can go the route of having the court order the property owner to vacate, either bring it in compliance or to break it down. But I think ultimately what you're gonna see is, you know, the city's gonna have to spend money on this at some point in time if the property doesn't get sold to a third party.
Have we notified the insurance company and mortgage company for them yet?
We have not yet, but that would be the next stage in this.
I think we've done.
Assuming.
We've done more than we need to,
Yeah,
in my
but
opinion.
then-
I just think, I'm just asking,
The
so
mortgage, but the mortgages are paid off.
all the mortgages are paid off
I
now.
think they actually, I don't know if it was family or what, actually gathered money last year and paid off the mortgages, so.
Well, I think the way you said it, we need to proceed down that route, as opposed
Yeah.
to legal route. So if you need something from us on
How
that.
would you find out who the insurance even is? If there is insurance.
If there is insurance, there's really, without mortgage companies in place, it's
Exactly.
really hard to do that.
There's nothing to enforce.
Yeah, I don't see any way to be able to do that.
Right.
But we would do a lien search to see if there's any other lien holders. But from what I've done, as far as my own lien searches, getting online and stuff, it looks like the mortgages have been paid. So we'll find out. But if there are mortgage holders, they definitely do get notified also.
So you need a motion then, or?
Yeah, just need a motion to proceed.
Okay, I'll make the motion to proceed.
I'll second it, and I hate that it's come to this, because I wish
Yeah.
they would have worked with us.
You know, and I think that's why it's taking this long, because it's hard on me and hard on staff thinking that we're taking, you know, that we're having to take this action with somebody who, you know, since they're home. It's
Well,
hard
the
to
ball's
do.
gonna be in their court again to try to resolve this.
Yes.
if they can do it.
Yeah.
They'll have the opportunity.
Okay, so I got a motion by Cool and a second by Lester to proceed with the condemnation of that property, 407 Center. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. That motion carries. Item 7, council inquiries and staff updates. Jim.
No?
Steph. David.
I just want to thank all the city staff and the fire department, police department, public works department, park department, all them for the 4th of July help. They did a lot of work and parades and park events and fireworks. It was a nice day. So even though it was a hot day, it was nice. So thanks to all those groups. Thank you. And anybody else that helped. I remember a lot of volunteers doing things.
Yep.
Wish I could have gone to the parade.
It was awesome.
We were exposed to COVID, so we had to sit in isolation until we passed both our tests, 5th and the 6th. But anyway,
Been there.
and I would offer the same thank you, because I've heard a lot of good compliments about it, even though the weather didn't really cooperate too well.
Wasn't too bad.
The other thing that I wanted to comment on is I had the opportunity to go down there for the new Justice Center dedication.
Yeah.
And nice building. It turned out pretty good. And it was nice to, you know, get to see people I used to work with, haven't seen for years, but the building is really nice. It's not flamboyant, it's realistic, you know, but it looks nice. And they have room for expansion, so we should take care of the county for a while, okay? Depending on the growth rate. But we won't have to turn around and build something right away again. I was particularly impressed that they now have an emergency operations center, and it's in the basement. Okay, they have a nice comm center. The facility looks nice. Now they still got to staff it. They got a lot of training to do, and there's a lot of, you know, bugs waiting in the woodwork that they're going to have to get past. But it looks good. You know what they've got set up there looks good. So I was very impressed and glad to see it finally get done.
Thank you. Luke?
Only thing I have is just a reminder that next week on the 14th is our comp plan open house. So that's at the Lakewood Elementary cafeteria at 6. So that'll be kind of our big public input opportunity on the draft plan prior to it getting finalized into a more final draft and then being brought forward to planning commission and then ultimately council for a series of public hearings and approvals.
What night was that again?
Thursday night.
I'm gonna have to walk all the way over there.
We can send somebody to pick you up.
Anything else?
No.
All right, Carrie.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Tony.
Nothing more here, Mayor. Thanks.
Wayne.
The construction season is in full swing. Unfortunately, we're just having slow progress on our project down here. If you drive by, they made some great progress last 2 weeks. Let's dry. And now this week, obviously, it's been slower. And they've also had some utility issues. So that project's been moving slow. Our updated schedule shows they're going to be done November 17th. It's now somewhere in December. That was as of last week. So I'm sure it's pushed even more. So I'm hoping for a drought rest of the summer.
Well, I don't know. We got that water supply thing.
Water.
And then a couple notices went out. We're gonna do some work on East 27th here Friday and then Monday. Milling overlay out there, so you'll see that occurring. That's it.
We just get a big parachute and put it over the top.
I'll take this opportunity to tell you, this is the downside of trying to stage traffic, you know, like, because we had to build that temporary road to keep traffic moving through there. And it sucks to shut down intersections and burden everybody. But that's part of the delay we're having here was building that temporary road. So something to consider moving forward.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Chief.
Well, again, like Councilmember Les just said, the fire department participated in the 4th of July parade, and we provided standby for the Lions Club fireworks, which was interesting in the new location, but it went well. I'm happy to report that we only had one call related to fireworks. So we had one dumpster fire in the Timberview neighborhood because of discarded fireworks, but one is better than what it was last year. So we're happy about that. Recently, the Des Moines Fire Department did a hiring process where they were target recruiting certified individuals. And I'm sad to report that we did lose one to Des Moines Fire. So we will be.
Poachers.
Yeah, I know.
Just
So
like
we
the
will be-
FBI.
So we will be, yeah, luckily he is staying on with us part-time, but we will be posting for a full-time position for a firefighter paramedic, so. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. Chief.
From the police perspective, the parade went fine with one minor hiccup. A limb fell on a line that crossed Elm Avenue at about 9 a.m. Parade started at 10. We went down and surveyed things and decided we would change the route to go 1 block south and then to Marie and then over to Cherry to avoid the line in the road. I called Mid-American and told them that they wouldn't be able to get to the line in the road, so to not come until noon. Of course, they showed up at 10:45. It worked out fine, there's no issues. Front Porch Norwalk is next Wednesday evening. I will be out of town, but the officers will participate as much as possible. I encourage everybody to take the opportunity to drive around. Officer Hepperly will be coordinating, And he can send a list of the properties that are registered out to whoever's interested. And I will also be out of town at the next council meeting, so either Sergeant Reed or Assistant Chief Westfall will be here in my place. Other than that, that's all.
Thank you. Gene?
Nothing.
All right. Well, it's not here. I'll see Gene Strable on. So Robin.
Hello, just want to let everyone know that phase 3 of the trail along the south side of Beardsley will begin tomorrow. It will be completed prior to school beginning. And then this month is Park and Recreation Month. We have a lot of events scheduled, and our calendar of events is on our webpage, and the individual events will also be posted on all of our social media feeds. So come out and join us if you have time. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Brian. Miss Lindsay. All right. Luke?
Great fireworks show. Thank you. I'm being selfish, but the new location is awesome. There's not a big tree in our way at our house. Now we have a clear view, so,
Hi, your house, huh?
what a great show. And I've got to pass along some kudos to citizens in general. I feel like people really didn't go outside of the new regulations. I mean, you heard one or two here and there, but I think the PD out there and the fact that we issued some tickets, I think that message traveled. So overall, good season.
I felt like they were shut down. They may have gone to 10:15 or 11:15, but they were shut down fairly quickly. It wasn't like 11:45 or 1 o'clock in the morning and they were still.
It was interesting that had we not shortened the number of days, the first day would have been June 28th. On June 25th, and prior to that, we had 1 or 2 or no calls a night. On June 28th, we had 6. On the afternoon of June 28th, I put out a Facebook post saying that it was the second, third, and fourth, and it was a $250 fine. It kind of had an effect through social media patterns across the city. And interestingly enough, on the 29th, I think we had 1 call. So I think that helped. And I also think that one of the persons charged that said multiple times that they had gotten charged probably had an effect. And from May until July 4th, we issued 4 citations.
Yeah,
It was a lot quieter up in our neighborhood.
But we ended up from June 30th to July 4th, the same number of calls as last year. So who knows?
Name calls. The other thing, couple of other items. First, Luke Paris and I went, Luke did all the heavy lifting. We went to the Warren County Board of Supervisors and we did a work session with them today about our draft land use plan and comp plan update. I felt like it was very well received by the supervisors. We had explained to them that our goal would be if they just simply adopted the land use plan we come up with, then it gets enforced. Realizing maybe that doesn't happen, the next best thing would be to simply have them recognize it and make it a part of their comp plan update process. So overall, I think that was a real good thing. Thank you, Luke, for doing that with the county. The next, not such good news. Just to give you a heads up that those inflationary expenses, we're already getting word from De Novo that the core, our sports building, field house, whatever you want to call it, they are already coming back, giving us some pretty significant price bumps. So Gene and I have been having a few meetings, Rob and Holly, various staff, talking about what that looks like and how we adapt, what grants are out there to help offset those additional costs. So the next time we come to you, it may not be the best news about what that looks like, but just giving you a little heads up. The last thing I have that I have on the screen, I've added some dates. As you know, we had to cancel the strategic planning that we did. We ended up that we would have missed 2 elected officials at our strategic planning. Not having one of you there is certainly bad, but when we got down to 2, we thought that's probably over the limit. it'd be a lot better to have everybody there. So we decided to reschedule. And I redid the doodle poll and added some additional dates that now include dates beyond just Tuesday. So there's a couple Wednesdays in there and several Mondays between now and the middle of August. So what I will do is resend that invite out to council so that you can log back in and put in your dates. That's what I have.
All right. As said, thank you for the Lions Club for the fireworks. They were awesome. Where we were sitting, they were pretty much like right there. It was pretty cool. It was great.
Must have been nice.
It was. You should have been there. See, stay away from COVID. You could have been there. Although, from my deck, I can see over towards your house, and there was a lot of fireworks going up at your house. So.
Oh, yeah, we sat out there in the sunroom and watched them. It wasn't at my house.
All right. But that's all I really have. Just thanks for the Lions Club. They did a great job.
Community chat? Chat.
Oh, chat on Saturday. Yes, community chat Saturday, 9 o'clock in here till 10:30. Thank you. That's all I have. We will move on to our next item, which is item 8. A closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 2151J to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate where only premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for that property or reduce the price the governmental body would receive for that property. Jim, is this a valid reason to go in closed session?
Yes, it is.
All right, can I get a motion to move in closed session?
Motion.
Yeah, okay, motion by Rivas, seconded by Baker. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, we are going out of open session at 7:07 PM and we'll wait for the next recording to start. Anybody need a break?